Hey, sports fans, it's Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. We're doing another program in Socialing the Distance. We're featuring Jesse Williams, the former director of sports marketing at Brooks and the founder of Sound Running. He's doing a really cool tour now in its second year called the Sunset Tour. And your sponsors are Under Armour and Soul Focus.
Under Armour right now, but we have a bunch lined up for next year in our full format. Yeah.
Cool. Now, Jesse, it's great to see you again. I spent a lot of time with you when you were at Brooks. It was always a lot of fun. You came up with some very cool and innovative ideas there. You were able to figure out how to take Brooks, which at the time was a modest-sized brand, and you were able to get a footprint in public relations and in the conversation in running much bigger than your budget, which I always thought you did a great job on. In this time of the pandemic, you're in the second year of a tour. You're putting on a couple cool meets, pop-up meets. You had some great performances in your last meet. You got some killer stuff coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
One of my favorite events, the 10, and then you've got a 1500 as well for women.
Yes.
So here's my first big question. Why did you become a meet director?
I wouldn't say it happened on purpose. It was more last year there was an opportunity. There was a significant amount of time in between the major meets and USA's.
Sure.
Because USA's moved back a month because Worlds was back a month. Mm-hmm. And there was because there was so much space, we decided to put on an event last second. And it was kind of just a fun project. I thought this will be easy compared to when I was at Brooks. We did the Brooks PR Invitational, and that's 130 high school athletes, flights, travel,
sure.
72 hours of entertainment, branding, all this stuff. And this was professional athletes who can take care of themselves, and much smaller event. And it just seemed like a fun project. And we did it last year. And once we finished, I think it kind of light bulb went off. Like, this would be fun. This is one of the things that I think I like to do the most is I like the organizing of an event. I like bringing something to life. And I was also something that as a sports marketing person in the industry, we saw a need for meets in the US.
Yeah.
So kind of marrying those two things of what the sport needs and also my passion.
Sure.
And so we had a big plan for this year. We had 3 events planned at very, very amazing venues, sandwiched in between the Olympic trials and Tokyo.
Sure.
And so the idea was we were going to expand off what we did last summer, and we were going to give athletes not only a post-trials tune-up if they wanted it before Tokyo, but the athletes that didn't make the team, which is unfortunately 99% of the athletes, a chance to compete, make money, and not have to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And now granted, we're still, if you get into Monaco or something, you're going to go to Europe. But
sure.
We thought, there needs to be opportunities here, and we saw a need, and we're blessed with pretty consistent weather down here.
Yeah.
And we have a bunch of amazing venues. And so that's kind of like how it started, and then what it grew into kind of, at least until everything happened this year.
Yeah. The pandemic has changed everything. I mean, I was in Dubai in January, hit the Dubai Marathon, flew 16 hours to Boston, and was there for 3 days, and was trying to decide whether to go to Europe for the indoor. And I talked to a buddy at CDC, and he said, yeah, you don't go anywhere, man, because this stuff's going to hit. And that was it. I went to the trials in March, and I've been trying to get over to Europe, and I got to spend 14 days in quarantine anywhere, and right. It's just silliness. And it's, so how are you juggling with just the craziness and the variety of support about coronavirus? How are you juggling getting athletes into California, putting them at a meet, taking care of them? That's got to take a lot of your time.
Yeah, it is interesting how this is these meets are small. We're talking 40 athletes,
Sure.
which is nothing. But
Mhm.
it is when there's 5 more layers of things you have to do to get them on the starting line.
Yeah.
We have to test them twice within
Mhm.
the week. So not only do we need to get all those results, but we also need to help athletes get those results in time. And so
Okay.
juggling all that, making sure we have that, even communicating that ahead of time so that we're not all the way to meet day and an athlete hasn't gotten 2 tests. So just that amount of detail work, leg work ahead of time is one thing. The logistics that go into that is a whole other thing. We've been really lucky. The state of California is great with testing. And then a lot of the athletes, because we're at kind of the end of the season here, a lot of the athletes have competed a couple times before they've come here, which means
Sure.
they've gotten used to going to wherever they go in their hometown or their, wherever to get tested. And so they're a little bit more like, they know, okay, I got to go on Sunday and then I got to go again on Monday.
Yeah.
And, I usually get results quite right away. Or if they don't get results right away, they know to use our testing, which ensures them results right away. And so it's just a matter of, and every single person's different. Every group and training group is a little different in what they're doing. And so that amount of communication and planning, even for 40 athletes, just adds quite a few layers. And then for us, the hardest part by far is getting a venue.
Yeah.
The state of California, or at least in Southern California, tracks are not open. We did the Inspiration Games at Mount Sac earlier this year.
Yeah.
And we were really, really lucky to be able to use that facility. And that team is very, very dialed when it comes to pulling things off. Very complicated events. So pulling something small off like that, even though for TV and for 50 countries, it was interesting from that standpoint. From safety, we were always good to go. But
Sure.
the optics of all these tracks are at schools or high schools or universities.
Yeah.
In California, most of the high schools and universities, the coaches, the teachers, and the students since March haven't been allowed on campuses.
Yeah.
And so for them to say yes to, now we're going to have a track meet, they're like, listen, we haven't even been in our office since March. We love what you guys are doing, and we agree that it'll be safe, but they're like, there's no way that our president or whoever will let us. And so we were lucky. We found a facility, and they actually do a lot of filming, like TV, music, video, commercials.
Yeah.
And it's a big revenue driver for them. And they're really, really organized and good at what they do. And because of that, they were actually functioning a little bit more normally, because even though school wasn't happening, they still have that events team that is managing all of that.
Yeah.
And because of that, they just looked at us as another event that they were going to have that was going to require testing, and all their things are small. It's like a movie set comes in and they have 40 people and they're all tested and they're all insured. And we weren't actually any different than that. We have insurance, we're sanctioned, we have testing, we have point people to, we have medical. And so we were really lucky that they looked at us the same way they were looking at these TV crews.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, I think if we were not in this place that does films and TV, I don't think we would have pulled it off. I know every state's different. I drove up to Washington earlier this summer to visit friends, and Washington, the tracks, they're just as strict with regards to, restaurants and public places and whatever, but for some reason tracks are open there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And same with Oregon. Not every single track, obviously, but obviously the guys at Portland Track Festival or the Portland Track, they were able to pull off a whole series of meets as well. But I think they also struggled finding a track, and that's why we saw the pop-up meets and everybody's keeping it secret, just as we have. For safety's sake, there's just a lot of fans that want to watch track, and we have to keep it secret so that we don't have, it's the weirdest thing to be talking about keeping a track meet secret, because for the 6 months since our last meet last year, all I was doing was coming up with a plan to sell out these stadiums.
Yeah.
We're sick of going to track meets, sick of seeing world-class athletes compete in front of 1,000 people. So we went to these 10,000 person stadiums and we put together a plan to sell out these stadiums. And then everything hits in, February, March.
Yeah.
And I think like all of us, we've just been playing it month to month.
Sure.
When we first hit in March, we thought July, our meets are in July. We're safe,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even in April, I thought we were safe because things, everybody was staying at home and there was a lockdown, numbers were going down. And I think every week, every month, what our plan was changed. And then we got to about early mid-July and we realized the only thing we were going to pull off, even if we got a venue, which that wasn't automatic, was something this size. It felt like the only thing that we could feasibly do here and not feel like we were being tone deaf.
Tell us about the first meet of this season. What were the highlights for you?
Well, first of all, the highlight was being at a track and seeing athletes come in and hearing that gun go off. And that sounds cliche, but it truthfully was like, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. And I haven't seen a lot of those coaches. I haven't seen any of those people in a long time. So even through a mask, a couple feet away, getting to see people was great. Highlight performance-wise, the women's 5K was pretty amazing. What people don't realize, we do have really consistently good weather here. Like this weekend, the men and women are going to run the 10K probably in about 72 degrees. It's going to be
wow.
It's going to be really nice. But last weekend it was about 80. We had a heat advisory that week, and so even though the sun was down and the humidity was down, it was about 80 when the guys and girls ran their 5K. And the guys, I think, there was a couple guys that really thought they were in 13:0, 13:10 shape, and I think they were. But the heat just took a little toll on them. And the women as well, but the women still ran 15:10.
Yeah.
And in those conditions, in my opinion, that on a perfect night, that would have been close to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you think about how many girls ran fast, like that was pretty special.
It is.
That was probably the highlight of the night. I mean, the women's 800 is pretty cool because a lot of girls set either personal bests or it was their fastest opener ever. Saw Emma Copeland run 2:01.2.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Like hearing her and her husband afterwards kind of both being shocked. I mean, how long have they been in the sport? And they were shocked by what she did. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shocked by many things when you're a world champion. So that was cool. Yeah, there's a lot of highlights.
What's the response been via social media?
It's been really good. Athletes are very thankful. Coaches are very thankful. About the hardest part has been we've got a ton of people reaching out saying, where is this? How can we watch?
Yeah.
Or athletes saying, hey, we'd love to get into this race. Are you putting on an 800 or are you putting on this? Are you doing this? And us having to say, in a normal year, we're not turning away many people because we're trying to take care of many athletes as we can. We're definitely not turning away fans.
Sure. Good.
We're definitely not turning away media.
Yeah.
And the weirdest part has been having to do those things.
Yeah.
The sport that I always said when I was at Brooks, we're never going to turn down an interview.
Yeah.
Turn down an opportunity because there's not that many opportunities. And so it's weird to be actually telling people they can't come. You can't come watch, or, hey, let's do Zoom interviews only. We can't have you there. We can't have extra photographers. And so that's the weird kind of negative side. But social media has been really positive. And even those people have been very understanding. Nobody's been upset. They just say, I don't understand. See you next year. So that's why we did the Zoom media, is because we're like, well, we at least have to give people an opportunity.
No, I think you're doing a great job. And I've had to cover 10 meets in Europe so far with a Zoom mix zone. They send us photos over. I've got a writer watching the TV in London, watching meets in, Sweden and Norway and other places. I thought the photos you gave were wonderful, and you're getting information out. And the key is so many sports are having issues right now. It's nice to see a few track meets out there. I'm very intrigued to see Chazarek and Blankenship go at it in the 10, tomorrow night. I think that's going to be fascinating. Tell me about the women's field in the 10. What are you thinking there?
Most of the girls that we've talked to in that field, the USATF standard is 32:15.
Sure.
And I think the number one goal for every single girl in that race is to get that standard.
Yeah, makes sense.
Everything else is secondary. I talked to Kevin Hansen. He's like, if every girl runs 30, he goes, our goal is 32:14. He goes, if every girl runs that, mission accomplished. And so I think most of the girls, now obviously, once you're under that time and and it's a lap to go or 800 to go, they're competitors and people want rights. But I think the number one goal is that time. Now there's outliers. We have the Boston Marathon champ.
Yeah.
She is somebody who I personally don't know the last time she's tackled a 10K on the track.
I was trying to look that up today too. It's somewhere in the swamp that is my brain. I remember like a 31:14 or something with her. So she's got wheels, and obviously with what she's run at Boston, so you've got you put together amazing fields, and that's really exciting. What about the women's 1500? Why did you do that one? Was there interest from the athletes, or did you say, hey, I got 2 10s here, so all the long distance geeks are going to be happy as hell. I need to put something out there for the middle distance runners.
These meets kind of took form based on the needs of athletes.
Okay.
Normally we had a whole plan of what we were going to do for events. Mm-hmm. But because of this year, we looked at it more like called up a couple coaches, talked to a couple athletes, and saw what they needed. And we also realized instantly our 5Ks and 10Ks, last weekend 5K, this weekend 10K, were filling up like crazy.
Yeah.
And there wasn't near as much interest in the shorter, the mid-distance fields. There was very specific interest. And so they were smaller fields. And so we actually, going into this weekend, we had men's and women's 15 and a men's and women's 10.
Okay.
The men's 15, when you have small fields, 2 or 3 people deciding last second to do something else, it kind of cannibalizes the whole race. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, do we really want 2 people in a race? And maybe, but we would do that if we had to. But I think they're just, everything kind of pulled one way or another. And so we, without even trying, had this really amazing women's 1500 field and the 2 10K fields. And then the men's 1500 that we had, we were just trying to cobble that together and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so, because right now there's the USATF mile champs this weekend.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of people that are done running for the season.
Yeah. So, and I don't, it's blowing my mind. Yeah. How many
between
people
those 2 things. Now, are there enough 1500 guys to pull off a good 15? Yeah. But we weren't going to start making calls and getting everybody to fly all over the place to come here. We're either it's going to happen organically or we're going to scratch it. And all the fields that came together super organically, those people are here to race. They specifically picked those events. And there really hasn't been any 5s or 10s this year.
Domestically,
a time trial here and there. Boston put on an event, and then Portland Track did a 5K last weekend, but there really hasn't been a 5 and a 10 kind of in these conditions where everybody got together at the same time. And I think it was kind of a perfect storm. I think that's why we have such good fields. And once again, we're lucky to have very consistent conditions and weather. People kind of equate LA and even NorCal to you run at night, you're going to get good racing conditions for the distance.
Oh, yeah.
you know.
I remember bringing my kids down to Mount Sac every year, you know, when I was coaching at
Why
Foothill,
Mount
and
Sac?
there
Yeah.
wasn't a bad year. Or, you know, when going to Palo Alto, how many years we go there to see some good stuff.
Oxy, all those events, yeah.
Yeah, they've just done a great job. What is, do you feel the sport will be back in full next year, or do you think we got a couple years to get back to where we were? Are we ever going to be back to where we were?
I firmly believe we'll be back, even potentially stronger. I don't know if it's next year. My self, you know, actualizing self once it says like, yes, we'll be back next year, because I need to believe that in order to like plan and be positive. Every month that goes by where we're in the same situation, we don't seem to really be making any forward movement. It makes me wonder a little bit. Obviously, a vaccine is huge in this whole
I think so too.
thing, because a vaccine everything ladders after that, right? We get a vaccine, we get it to enough people, things slowly open. If we were able to start mass gatherings again by April, then we can have a season. We can have Olympics. We can have a full track season. We're going to need to have the Olympic trials in order to have the Olympics. Like, there's all these things. And so I'm hopeful. I think, and I've talked to a couple people about this, I hate the situation we're in, but I firmly believe that a lot of good will come from this. People have been creative. People have been, they've pushed through. They've realized there's a bottleneck here and there's a bottleneck there. How do we fix it? How do we fix it in a time like this? We are also very lucky that professional track you can pull off with not many people and you can still entertain. I believe we could have a full season like this next year. I don't want to, but there are creative ways. We figured it out, and if we figured it out in this amount of time, how much better could we be next year if we're in the same situation? But I do think track will end up being better because of all this, and I do think it will be back full, if not even bigger. I think absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? And I believe that.
I think so, man.
Like, I want to go to a basketball game so bad right now. I want to run a mass race so bad. I haven't run a road race in a long time. It sounds great right now.
They do.
So I think that's going to be a part of it.
I want to take you back to when you were at Brooks. You know, you guys made page one of the Wall Street Journal when you did the Hanson's deal. And, you know, you were, that was, you know, your baby, and you continue to support them. And then you developed the Brooks Beast, which I think, you know, I love Danny and what the athletes say. We had Danny on a few weeks ago, and I consider him the Zen master, you know, and, but you did some really good things at the brand there, and you're now working with, you know, you've got a sponsor. And that's the fact of life, you know. In my business and your business, there's 48 running shoe brands out there, and all of them are doing something. There's probably 15 or 20 that are in our part of the world. What does a brand like Under Armour want to achieve with events like this? What are they trying to do?
Yeah, so we're very lucky that Under Armour is a brand that wants to be a part of the run. They make running apparel, they make running footwear, and they're making, you know, new apparel and new footwear in leaps and bounds, but they need a vehicle to get that out there and to show people. I think events are one of the best vehicles to get people to experience your brand. And so this track and field, like maybe a marathon or a 5K is a mass participation event, kind of the every runner event. But track and field is kind of, we used to talk about it as the tip of the spear. It's the influencers. It's the, hey, if those guys or those girls run in this stuff, it has to be good. And I think a high profile event showcasing their brand in a key market like Los Angeles, and like I said, just SoCal area in general, working to cultivate relationships with the coaches around here, working to cultivate relationships with the high school athletes around here. That's what they see in this value. And obviously, we want this event to reach further than just the local audience. That's why we have a streaming partner.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to hit influencers everywhere. And
sure.
We're very lucky that a brand as big as Under Armour wants to be involved in track and field. There's a couple of really big brands, and those big brands support track and field. And when another big brand comes in and wants to play, that is so good for the sport. That's good for it. Floats. Yeah, it raises all tides. And so, I think that's what they want out of it. They want to be a part of the conversation when somebody's going to look for a pair of running shoes. And they want to support the sport, which is what they're doing. And I think it's also valuable to be something new and something different, and something also, this is a major media market.
Sure.
And it's not hard to get people to come to LA.
Yeah.
So why not spend a summer here, running track meets? It's not, Belgium or, whatever, but like, it's a lot cheaper, and you don't have to fly overseas, and you can make money. And so there's a lot of things. And I think they'll also be a part of a change that's good for the sport. All those things, I believe, are, what drives them to be a part of this.
All right. Take us to the schedule for the meet tomorrow night.
Yeah. So it's actually the shortest, sweetest schedule ever. The meet will start at 8:30 with the women's 15. At 8:45, we're going to run the women's 10K.
Okay.
Then at 9:25, the men's 10K. We go live with FlowTrack at 8:30. And then we're actually doing behind the scenes Instagram live with Will Lear, kind of just to show you everything else happening behind the scenes. Like,
cool.
Hopefully we get that coach, the pep talk before the race, and, the yelling the splits, and the quick little, talk right after they finish, little stuff like that
Good.
you don't see in race coverage. And obviously FlowTrack right now, with social distancing, it's a lot harder to get the in-depth, really close interviews right afterwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's tough. It's very tough.
So we're just trying to, give people entertainment, especially with the events spread out. We want to fill the in-betweens.
Now, are you offering prize money for the events?
No, not this year. We kind of pushed everything back to next year.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, just because we didn't know even what events we were going to be doing. We didn't know if we were going to do it. So we made a decision to push everything to 2021, keep our original schedule of, we had 2 bronze level meets and a silver label meet. And our goals are actually to upgrade those. But we weren't sure if this was going to be local and we were going to have all this prize money for races that might not even have been I don't know. We just,
it makes, I think you've got so many things that you're juggling that, one, you've been able to get the meets is fantastic. Quality of the events, that's, when you and Ed there, and you the other crowd, the athletes who you put in, and you had Emma there, the last meet, it tells you that you've got the trust of those fields. And I'm really happy for you, because I knew you put on a couple of cool meets last year, and this is your baby. And what's it like? Here's the last one of the day. You got 3 whole minutes. What's it like being your own boss? Do you like that?
I do. I do. I think I had a couple good talks this week with JT Service runs Soul Focus Sports.
Love him. Yeah, good guy.
They're out here helping us with some activation for the event. And one thing he said this week really stuck with me, which is the first couple of years he did Soul Focus, it was just him. And when he finally expanded and had a team, he realized how much more he loved working with people.
Yeah.
And that couldn't have hit me harder, because I was like, he just said what I've been thinking, which is, and maybe I didn't even realize I was thinking that, but when it's just you, now we have partners and I'm on calls with partners, but we don't have employees yet. We have a contract here and there and whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't have a boss, and there's stuff that's really nice about that, but that also means as of right now, I don't have coworkers.
Yeah.
And I really, really miss coworkers and sharing a passion with somebody and going out and achieving those goals together. And I also love that we can achieve so much more as a team than just by ourselves. And so
sure.
I hold myself to a pretty high standard, and I hold Sound Running to a very high standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I need a boss to motivate. But I do want teammates and coworkers. And
cool.
Our goal is for these meets to be the 3 best meets in the U.S.
Good.
Now, if we keep marching up that road, there's no failure in that, if we're trying for that. So, but I'd like a team to help.
Well, Jesse, thank you very much. Thank you for the time today. Best wishes tomorrow. Again, everything starts at 8:30 tomorrow. You can watch it on FlowTrack, and there'll be Instagram kind of live action starting at 8:30 as well. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun, Socialing the Distance, featuring Jesse Williams, founder of Sound Running, and putting on the Sunset Tour. The last meet of 2020 is tomorrow. Some pretty cool events. So, Jesse, thanks again. Great seeing you. And I look forward to checking it out tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Good seeing you.
Thanks, man. All right.
Goodbye.
Hey, sports fans, it's Larry Eder. RunBlogRun, Socialing the Distance. I try to say something wrong every time, but it's Socialing the Distance. And we featured Jesse Williams today. He's the former director of sports marketing at Brooks. Did some really cool things there, including the Brooks PR event, Hanson Brooks, Brooks Beast. Good guy. Now he's the founder of Sound Running, and he's in his second year of putting on pop-up track meets, elite track meets. I would call them bespoke meets because, doing that European crap, and very personalized. But this year, because of the pandemic, you have a few events. You bring in a modest field, 30 or 40 athletes. You've got to test them twice, keep stuff isolated. As Jesse suggested, there's at least 5, probably a dozen more things that he's got to do to make these meets work. But Jesse's got good people with him. JT Service from Soul Focus Sports, who I love. They're in the Bay Area. His pop was coach at Santa Clara after I coached there. And, he brought the program to much prominence. But JT's a good dude, and everybody loves him. But he knows how to get activations done and do some good things. And Jesse knows how to put on track meets and loves doing this stuff. And in the time of a pandemic, he's putting on a second meet with 2 10,000s. Man, I wish I could be there. They're somewhere in Southern California tomorrow. And Ed Cheserek and Ben Blankenship are in the 10 on the men's side. Women's side's got a top field. They're going for 32-15, which is the USATF qualifying mark for next year. And then there'll be a women's 1500. So 3 events starting at 8:30 on FlowTrack. You can also check out behind-the-scenes stuff on Instagram. Will Lear's there. One of our dear friends, Craig Vanderhoff, who used to be the director of all things fabric and garments at Adidas, and who took us to one of the coolest bars in the entire world, located in Nuremberg. And I'll put that video up again. I just need to tell you that I drank there for 4 straight nights, didn't get a hangover, was drinking drinks from the 30s because all the little stuff in the drinks, the guy handmade, and it was amazing. Craig, I'm still impressed. Anyway, Craig's at Vans right now, and he's helping with the communications with this event too. But Jesse's the guy behind it, so we spent some time with Jesse. You'll get to enjoy him. This was recorded on August 28th, the day before the meet. And Jesse's a lot of fun. I asked him about the meet, the challenges with the meet, over the highlights of the first event, and then also what's it like working for yourself. For the last 36 out of the last 40 years, I've done that. I had a business partner for 11 years, and they didn't kill me. And we worked together, and it was a learning experience on both sides. But I do like being by myself and working with my son and my brother and Mikey and, a few of our other partners in crime. But it's a gene pool thing to be able to work. I think for a small business and work on your own and juggle the how do you pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Jesse is doing that, and he's doing it in an absolute shit time. I've had 4, 5 different businesses, and I launched every one of them during a recession or a financial down cycle. What I found was that sweat equity wins, and that sponsors and advertisers go, hey, look, this guy's crazy enough to do it now. You know, he's got a good shot of making it. Let's get involved. You know, what's the upside? What's the downside? So, but it's a little different now in the world of marketing and advertising. I still think that there's a need for small, thoughtful events. And for running to prosper, the brands that are doing really well right now, guys who are really getting the word out on Hoka, Brooks, they started with very small events and built them up nicely. And they go out to stores, they get their hands dirty. This all started back with Jeff Johnson and Jeff Hollister at Nike when it was Blue Ribbon Sports. They were selling shoes out of the back of trucks. And Jeff Johnson was putting Nike and Blue Ribbon Sports shoes in embalming fluid boxes. He's living above a mortuary or a mortuary office. And so, you know, there's nothing new. You know, Adidas did this stuff, Puma did this stuff. But when brands get big, a lot of them get lazy. And some of the mid-sized brands are just, I can't even believe they survive. There's 48 brands out there right now, and about 15 are doing pretty decently. And some of the small ones are really doing well, considering how tough it is. But niches like what Jesse's doing with putting on bespoke track meets in the time of a pandemic means this guy can do just about anything. And I'm really proud to see what he's doing. The quality of the athletes and the quality of the coaches, the elite community trust him, and they're getting involved in his meets. And the truth is, we need about 15 meets in the U.S. We need a little series in almost each region. Skip Stoley talked about this 25 years ago, and other guys have talked about it too. It's about getting some money, you know. If I can find that Silicon Valley company who says, okay, man, I got $5 to $7 million a year and we're going to really make it rock and roll, we can put things together. It's not a lot of money. And the truth is there's opportunities in athletics. It's all about run, jumping, and throwing. It's pretty simple, but it celebrates movement. And it's, I think I've had too many Pete's coffees today. But in a time right now where people are questioning the validity of wearing a mask and social distancing, and some people say it's not masculine, some people say it's unpatriotic, some people say it's patriotic. And I just say, you know what, you got the freedom to be stupid. That's in our Constitution. But the issue is when people are stupid, other people get sick or die. But in that kind of a time, we need something to enjoy, and a focused, well-run track meet, as we saw in Monaco, as we saw in Stockholm, as we'll see tomorrow night somewhere in the Santa Monica area. Be very cool. So keep enjoying track and field. Thank you, Jesse Williams, for taking your time. It was great seeing you. Had a lot of fun working with Jesse when he was at Brooks. And Michael Deering, thank you for putting up with me today. And listeners and readers and sponsors, thanks to Brooks, thanks to Nike, thanks to some of our folks who've been with us for a long, long time, and some of the folks that are coming in again. All right, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun, Socialing the Distance. We featured Jesse Williams on this one. Have a great weekend. Get in a walk, get in a run, or jump, or throw the javelin. Hey, take care.